Hello everyone, and welcome to this video where we are going to take a look at the Ptarmigan. It's made by two users, Alistair and Pingu. Some of you may recognize those names because they're the ones who also made that awesome outdoor dealership. Finally, they released this creation and it has been long awaited. I got the luxury of seeing it since its early conception and kind of looking at it as it was getting developed, and sometimes you just see some people put an incredible amount of effort into a creation, and I gotta say, this is absolutely it. You'll see the details as we go through the ship, take a look at the instruction manual that was released with it, and just get a full feel for just how incredible this creation is. I'm first of all mind blown, and you'll see as well when we start to look at the details and especially the realism aspect. So this is one of those creations where the realism really shines. If you know my creations, my ships specifically, you'll know that I go for the very quick and dirty sort of very easy to use type of creations, whereas this is definitely not that. This ship requires your patience, your input, and learning how to use it. So looking at the actual sort of workshop creation, you could see right away just the detail that Pingu and Alistair went into for creating this. You can see this looks like a hand sketch drawn piece of paper of the ship, and you could see the proportions really do look fantastic. One thing I really like is the overall shape. Well, only one thing out of a billion things that I could mention right now, but I just love the shape of the creation. It's so well proportioned, that superstructure with the big tall hull here in the front, the sort of rear deck with the crane and whatnot. It looks fantastic, and apparently it's super good at catching crabs, which, as we know with the new update, that gives us plenty of reason to be excited. The detail inside the spaces is fantastic, the detail with the engine, and again, like I said, the realism aspect. Now, it's something that you got to be patient with. I know a lot of users prefer that kind of quick and dirty, just start the game, turn the ship on and go. Fair enough, but you got to give it to these two users for building this, because you can't do that here. You have to learn it. You have to learn to appreciate its features, its options, and make it work properly. So I think that's a really cool approach, and especially considering that in the game where we can do so many different things, from super realistic to more unrealistic and quick and dirty, this gives us that very realistic experience. It's almost like a mini game in itself using it, and it comes with a whole user manual. Now here are the proportions of the ship. You could see from the front, rear, and side. Again, I just love the color and proportion of this thing. The overall shape is so beautiful. I really have to give it to them for making this. Now, what it says, that this boat has been made to be super interactive, multiplayer friendly, and you can have a crew of two to stay busy and kind of work together. That's really cool. Again, it reiterates that it's made for people who enjoy complicated and realistic systems and don't complain if that is not you. There's other ships for that, but here you see the proportions, the beautiful shape of the thing. Now down here there's some notes that you got to pay attention to. Infinite electric must be off for the boat to work correctly, so those people that like infinite electric on cannot do it that way. And there's a quick debug here for the various systems. Now, just fantastic use of all kinds of different systems here. Look at this, testing how the hull behaves in the water. You got all kinds of particles here, and it's taking a close-up look of where it kind of interacts and how it goes, kind of like a wind tunnel. Now this is all the description here, which is kind of short, but if you click here, it opens up a full menu, and you can go here and see this whole user instruction. It's 32 pages long. I highly recommend you take a look, and you have to take a look if you are trying to use this ship. But again, beautiful illustrations, beautiful colors, and you could just see the incredible amount of detail that these users put into this to making this thing look good. So you kind of have here the list of contents going all the way to the 31st page. We're just going to kind of fly through it, but in essence, it tells us here the size 50 45 meters, crabbing vessel designed for all kinds of conditions. It's built to have a modern helm, advanced navigation, all that good stuff. There's a little bit of lore acquiring a license. And here again, you have some specifications. Now we know that it comes with a diesel electric system, including 2 generators, 1 main engine, a top speed of 30 knots, and then some more kind of lore with steel hull material, crew of 6, weight, propulsion, and crabbing specifications. Now again, here's that wind tunnel particle analysis showing how the hull can kind of go through the water. Really neat, actually. I do a very similar thing like this with conveyor belts in my career, so it's just super cool to see them done here. And I love this. It gives us the crane, so this is the small one, the 3.5 meter crane, hydraulic deck handling, and then it has the big crane, which is 5.5, and it has a 3.75 arm extension, and it even shows where the cranes are located. You got the 2 small ones forward and aft, as well as that big one kind of on that rear deck. It's off center, which I really like, not exactly symmetrical, and again, that just makes for such a fun interactive creation. And they didn't stop there. They have screenshots of the equipment, whether it's anchors, winches, crabbing equipment, beautifully rendered. And now we get to the realistic bit. So this is the breaker panel for the power management, the main power, with including all kinds of stuff. And here you have power management operation system, so it tells you if you have a blackout what to do, if you have an abnormal condition what to do. There's even a lightning fuse. Super realistic, super well done. We'll do some testing with this kind of stuff, but I just wanted to show you exactly how this looks. There's power management if you're connected to the shore. There is the images of the generators. You can see right here the generator systems, the controls for the generators, including labeling everything. So the Stormworks watt dial, we got the main breaker here, all kinds of stuff. Then there is the generator system, including all kinds of information that you'll need to know exactly what everything does. So it explains each one of these items in this list. And then we have the startup checklist and the start checklist. So we got to turn on the fuel selector, we got to circulate the pump, and then you hold prime and start it and all that good stuff. You can actually set the throttle to it too, and it shows us where the generators are in relation to the room. Again, even just talking about this all, this is so detailed. It already feels like what you'd find if a video game, for example, like Ships in the Sea or whatever that game is called, sorry about the casualness, but that game has very realistic kind of systems. This is even taking that to the next level. And it's super cool to see just user creation that is absolutely detailed. Then we have the main engine system with 40 things. And then here it explains what each one of those are. Like, just take a look at this. Auto compressor regulates pressure, keeping in the green zone. You can also force extra power into it, and like a high idle mode. And it's going to make sure that you can get more required power if you're sharing power. So there's all kinds of neat information. Again, just stunning visuals. This actually feels like a user manual for the thing. And again, this is just something 2 people volunteered to do. Now it has the pre-startup checklist, the startup checklist, after startup. There's hydraulic systems, so things require hydraulics, the side thrusters, deck equipment, crane, winches, stern door, rudder. So you have to have the hydraulic systems working in order to even get these systems up and running. One thing that I skimmed over actually is that the vessel requires the battery to be between 70 and 90%. If it's not between 70 and 90%, you actually will not have it working properly. So the battery, if it goes above 90, you'll experience a blackout depending on which breakers are on. So it's almost like a mini game. And if you get a blackout, you got to reset your voltage fuse, and then you can follow a different checklist. So that's one of the reasons we have to play with not infinite electric. And that's one of the things that makes this super realistic, because you can't just go ahead and charge it 100%. You got to keep it between that level, otherwise you're going to start running into some issues. So going on back to where we were, the hydraulic systems, and then you have all kinds of startup checklists. I'm not even going to go through this, but you have to learn them if you want to use this thing. That kind of goes back what I said. You have to learn to appreciate this creation to use it properly. And maybe it's not going to be the most popular for folks that want to just hop in and go with it. But what it does do is it definitely teaches you something about ships, about operations, and really you'll probably appreciate all this when you're using it. So it's not made to be quick and dirty and go. It's made to be absolutely realistic. Then we get the bridge system, and it actually explains how everything is used there, all the different systems that we have on the in the bridge, including the radars and systems. There's an incremental throttle to make it more realistic when you're speeding up, so you have to throttle up every 2 seconds. It can't just full speed ahead type thing. Navigation systems, modes, and then it goes into the detail for the crabbing operations. The crabbing system is super cool, and it gives little diagrams so you can unload the pots, connect them together first, recommended number of pots per buoy is 4, unhook the buoy, throw it over the side, and release it into the water. I'm just simplifying it, but it even gives little diagram images of how to do it. Then here you'll have the loading. So back up to a pot, attach the cable, winch it up, reconnect it, all this good stuff. Again, love the detail, the diagrams with little arrows and everything, including loading it and storing it back to where it was. And here we have some little quick notes. When unloading, we recommend to turn off the brake parts. There's some quality of life features, and for this ship, it's recommended to play with multiplayer, play with more people. It'll be more realistic, more fun for you, and honestly, seeing what the amount of systems this vehicle has, I think you'll have to. You'll definitely want to have someone, for example, even in the engine room as you are operating it on the bridge, and then even when it comes to the crabbing operations, you'll probably want a second person. Which brings us in the game. So again, just the incredible amount of detail that you could see all over the ship. I can't even find words because it was done so well. Now again, maybe this isn't necessarily my style in the sense that I like the quick and dirty start up and go type creations that people are quite fond of, but I gotta give it to Alistair and Pingu for putting the effort and the time into this creation. You could even see kind of like where the fake rivet joints would be for the steel where it was welded or attached together all over the hull. Just an incredible amount of detail. Now let's see if we could make it over if we jump. We'll start off with the front of the ship. So I think you have to jump up these. I wish there was a bit of an easier way for stairs to be used in Stormworks, but kind of it is what it is. So one thing I noted as I was walking around the ship the first time is just the incredible amount of bodies there are. There's so many different things that can open and close within this ship. You definitely need to have a strong computer to run this ship. Even I'm finding a little bit of lag, and I have a pretty decent setup. Take a look at these. So the winches themselves, how they operate, how they look, and these are for the anchors, and it even uses the corner pulleys and kind of drops down there. So that's the front. There's more storage here, and there's this first EH-58 crane here. And again, what I was saying is I really do like the fact it's not perfectly symmetrical. You have to kind of find your way to the ladders and stairs and go down. Now over here we got some crab storage, including a big crab storage. More cabinets, we got a large winch, or huge winch as the game calls it. And then here we have sort of two decks, one with cabinets and all kinds of more equipment. Of course, if you are crabbing, you have to connect the ropes to them. And then we have a freezer unit here with a nice AC on the wall. And then over here there are stairs going down to the lower deck, which is where the kind of deckhands work. They're bunk beds with Arctic gear. Really beautiful detail all over. Now I didn't start the breakers, so you could see that I can't turn the lights on even, but that's okay because they went for realism here. So that is on the forward bit of the ship. Even here there's no electric. We can heat the ship though, but you can see it's kind of hovering around 62% battery. Now over here on the deck, we get a lot of lobster pots. You can see that there's just a bunch of them, and without kind of turning on the systems, you can see I can't really operate them too much. But what we can do is make our way here, where we have some storage, firefighting stuff, magulls that we could presumably move this stuff around with, and here are the buoys. So the crab pots, they said 4 recommended per buoy. Here are the buoys, and we got a lot more on this side. And this is the back deck that opens up, and this is where we can actually drop things off the side. So here it even has some more information. Alert intended for multiplayer, dropping pots and ready to move hit. The buzzer to alert the bridge. So there's even a little alert bridge button. More stairs. Now over here, if you look up here, use ear protection in this area. Deck C down, and there's a door here that we could operate. Supply connections, so this is shore access. I love that. You could open that up and actually connect your fuel or your electric cable to that portion. And now we're in the engine room. You can see just how big that engine is, and it's even kind of on 2 floors. We're in the 2nd mezzanine level. There's an engine control room, and here are the breakers that it talks about, and here's the control panel. So we have everything, including engine room ventilation. And now we're kind of below that 60%, so we're kind of hovering if I'm watching the battery. But you see just the size and sheer effort of this thing, including the ventilation ducts. Over here are the generators, and here's the batteries. So that's in this area, and here's another panel. So you get tons of different panels, full realism, and it's absolutely incredible. We're going to see to fire it up a little bit after. But first, I just want to do a quick walkthrough of the ship itself. So here are the ladders to go up. Not quite sure how that'd work when the ship, if it's heavy seas, but I do like that, the way it looks for sure. Here's the other smaller crane, and over there is the bigger crane. Beautiful colors, love how it looks. Here is the massive bridge, but first we have the living quarters. So here's the first officer and the captain's quarters. Very neat and tidy and realistic looking. Get the nice level of detail as well in wood. Look at these cabinets. And over here we get a little galley, sink, and some seating areas. So it's meant to be realistic and meant to look nice, and it definitely does in here. So that's on this door. Now going up these stairs here, we'll make our way up to the bridge. So we see that there's cameras everywhere, so you can actually operate cameras and CCTV systems inside the bridge itself. Here's how it looks. You get a nice expansive view over the front of the ship. You get some gear. You got your bow thrusters here, or bow thrusters, and there's a little side deck, and here are the crane controls. So you could operate the cranes from here. So it's a very tidy setup in here, and it does look great. Now you can see we start up the map and some systems, and of course then we have the captain and the first officer / crane seat. So we'll see if I can get these systems fired up. What I've done here is on my monitor, I've placed on the left side the startup sequence, on the right side the actual breaker panel for the engines, and I'm going to see if I can follow the instructions here to get this thing going and functioning. So I try to turn on some of this stuff over here, the fuel boosters, the pumps, the valves, and now over here, power panel first, compressor 1/2, and you kind of have to, 1 and 2, okay. Open indicator valves. Does take a little bit of searching. Okay, open indicator valves. Fuel injectors was here somewhere. Air valves was up there. Fuel valve. Fuel valve, it doesn't say. It says exhaust valve. Turbo bypass. Turbo bypass. There we go. Air tank pressure above 5. Alright, it's above 5. Prime, hold for 15 seconds. Holding for 15 seconds, and then after 15 seconds, I'm going to push start right here. The moment of truth. Alright, the RPM is climbing. I'm going to turn the fuel valve on, just because I think it should be on. Now over here, we got to make sure that what I believe is the engine battery control is on, and then we have all these other systems that are currently not in operation, so turning them on would probably be good. Alright, in here it says once we're on we can turn off the starter batteries. Oh, engines are on, nice. Starter batteries are off. The fuel boost pumps, we could turn them off. Fuel boost pump is off. Auto compressor can be on now. Auto compressor. Auto compressor, where are you? Auto compressor on, okay. The compressor 1 and 2 can be off. Turbo bypass, it's our choice if we want it on or not. We have it on. And on is run, off is start. But you could see that it's kind of chugging along now, so I'd say that currently it's on. This is the last one. On is run. So we're going to turn it on, and now that should mean that our main engine is running quite nicely. Found a way to turn on the systems here in the bridge, and you can see the engine's working, but I'm not getting my hydraulic power yet, and I'm not getting the other stuff, but that's okay. I do want to take my time to figure all that out. I just did want to give a general overview of the ship and its type of systems, including that really cool operation getting the engine started. I'm going to end the video off with this really cool snapshot of how the ship used to look while they were still working on it in the very early production. To me, it seems that the proportions had actually changed some since this was taken, and if we kind of keep going to this, here's some very early look at the systems. And here it is, pretty much with no details, only the general kind of overview. It is the most advanced and best detailed engine room for sure. And here it is looking proper. So it looks to me like they extended it a little bit. In that first picture, it looked a little stubbier. Maybe I'm wrong, but here it looked a little stubbier. Maybe it's just the angle. Anyway, you could see that in the early stages, the systems and stuff were kind of work in progress, but even still it turned into the beautiful ship that we have now. I really encourage you to give them a subscribe and like if you are into this thing, because you could just imagine the amount of effort that went into this. So thank you, Pingu and Alistair, for making this creation, making this video possible. Thank you all for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, more creations, and as always, happy Stormworksing, everyone. See you next time.